This motion merely allows Central Council to put policy in place that will ensure that the use of our property will only be for our own activities, except in very exceptional circumstances. Last year we had a scenario where the association came under unfair and sustained criticism over the availability of Páirc Uí Chaoimh for the Liam Miller benefit game. Such is the world we live in, that the GAA were tried and convicted in the court of social media before we had an opportunity to make a decision in this regard. Unfortunately, the longer the issue like this goes on, the more potentially damaging it is. And it can be gossip that becomes fact, and unfortunately, all the true facts rarely are laid on the table. In such instances, I feel the most important factor is that the organisation listens to and is aware of the opinions and wishes of the grassroots membership. Now, having been part of the decision-making process decided on this issue, I can assure delegates it was one of the most open forums that I was ever involved in. And I can also assure delegates that members of Central Council will not allow our property to be used unless in very exceptional circumstances. Sometimes decisions need to be made expediently, and this motion will ensure that they are. The motion will also ensure that expedient decisions are also the correct ones. I believe the motion before us will prevent any reoccurrence of last year's controversy without undermining the spirit of the existing rules or compromising our association in any way.
Now, clearly we can't implement that policy at the moment because it would be in contravention of current rules. So the sequence of events will be, if you decide here this morning that this is a rule that you want to implement, the next stage is at the meeting of Central Council in March, we refine and define the policy that will govern these situations. And you can see the broad thrust of it there on the screen in front of you. There are 4 tenets to that policy. First of all, we will be saying that Central Council has the authority to sanction GAA grounds for uses other than Gaelic games, but only for grounds that are owned by county committees or for, as is currently the case, obviously Croke Park. Only if the application for such use comes from a national sporting governing body, in other words, not from, for example, a local charity organisation or so on. It has to come from the organisers of that sport at national level to Central Council. Only if it's an event, you can see that we have of national significance, but clearly that's perhaps a little bit subjective, but clearly an event that is of national prominence and something that can't perhaps be catered for in any other way, and that's something that we'll need to trust Central Council in adjudicating that. And finally, you probably have noticed that the rule as it's currently drafted expresses things in the negative, so things are permitted as long as they are not in contravention of the GAA aims. And what we're going to do now is we'll express the policy in positive terms. So we will ask Central Council to adjudicate on such applications and to assess them in the light of the extent to which it's in the benefit of the GAA to permit the use. So those are the 4 elements that will come into the policy that governs the authority that Central Council will have to permit GAA grounds to be used for other purposes.
I could see a situation now and then, maybe where Thomond Park mightn't be deemed big enough for a major match, then they might be able to apply to play it in the Munster grounds. Obviously World Cups may come, they may not, but at least the procedure is there and it can be dealt with.
91% in favour, 9% against. The motion is carried.